is the Revisionary Podcast with your host, Juan Carlos. The Revisionary Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Revisionary Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Juan Carlos. Yes, we're doing this again. Another episode, another week, we have survived. If this is your first time listening to the Revisionary Podcast, the way this works is we bring on guests, usually comedians, who tell a nonfiction story about their lives in which they wish things had gone a little bit differently. Afterwards, I give them an opportunity to tell the same exact story, except this time they can change any facts or details that they would like about their story. So this week, we're actually going to change things up a little bit because for those of you guys who've been listening to me for a while now, you know that usually when we release episodes, we go right into the call and, you get to listen to me have a live conversation with these wonderful guests that we've had. But this episode, we actually recorded a few months back and we held on to it before we released it because if it's about the U.S. elections, and I know some of you guys are sick of politics. So if you need a trigger warning, here it is. This conversation is about politics, but specifically it tailors on the most recent U.S. election. And I know that the past two elections here in the United States have been a little bit emotionally charged, which is why I'm letting you know now, if you're over it, I 100% understand, but that is what this is about. But I'm really excited because I have a wonderful guest and she really is wonderful. And I'm very glad that we had an opportunity to have this conversation together because I got to ask her questions firsthand. She got to explain her point of view on things. And it was just a pleasant conversation because I do feel that some of the things that she dealt with throughout the conversation must have been common for a lot of you here in the United States. So you'll be able to see how she dealt with it and how she related to it. So that'll be interesting. Before I go any further, let me actually introduce the guest. Some of you guys may actually already know her because she's a writer for NPR's Ask Me Another. She's also a stand-up comedian. And she has an upcoming trivia book, which is coming out this year called One Day Smarter. So all exciting news. I'm really excited that she decided to sit down and have this conversation with her. And hopefully, maybe you guys can relate. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up on social media and let me see if you guys had similar experiences, if you had different experiences. I'm just curious. So without further ado, let me go ahead and connect you to the call. Hey, Emily, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming on the Revisionary Podcast.
Oh, yeah. I am pumped about this. This is a really cool topic. This is a cool idea.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. It definitely took me a while to think of this. I went through so many bad ideas before I arrived at this one.
Well, I think it's really relatable. Everybody has something, if not many things, that they wish had gone differently.
Yeah, and and that was kind of the point, especially as 2020 has been unfolding and everyone's going through this pandemic. I definitely felt that we were all stuck inside, and I wanted to create something where we could feel like we were still part of that one human connection and not just isolated.
Yeah, this nails it.
So, what have you been up to?
Well, I have been writing a book of uplifting trivia, which has been a really nice thing to do during dark days, So I'm excited for that to come out, and I just wrote a horror film, a horror comedy with my husband based on our wedding. So that was a really fun project. And I've been playing a lot of beach volleyball.
Wait, where do you play beach volleyball?
I play beach volleyball at Pier 25 in Manhattan. You can rent the courts. It's kind of expensive, but if you bring 8 to 10 people, it's not so bad. It's $150 for 2 hours, and it is worth it because it's the only exercise I truly want to do.
I was born and raised in New York my entire life, and I had no idea that was even an option.
Oh, really?
No, zero. You said that you were playing beach volleyball. I'm like, where? Where are you finding a beach in New York? Let me know.
There's other courts too. You can go. There's Pier 6 in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Bridge Park. Those are being remodeled right now. There's new courts in Williamsburg at Domino Park, and I'm missing one. Oh, there's one at Jacob Riis Beach. So now you know all of the beach volleyball courts, at least all the ones I know of.
See,
there's one in Central Park. Yeah.
The problem is I can do the one in Central Park, but I grew up in the Bronx. We don't go to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, I understand. Too far.
Yeah, it's too far, and it's a safety issue. And by safety issue, I mean I don't feel comfortable going that far, having fun, and then you know what? Never mind. We're gonna forget this whole line. There was a joke in there. It went bad.
Sitting on the train all the way home. I get it.
Yeah, no, I don't go to Brooklyn. That's pretty cool. So I know you also have a podcast. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I've been recording episodes of my podcast, Comedians with Ghost Stories, which is exactly what it sounds like. I believe in ghosts. I'm not particularly spiritual or touched, or ghosts don't find me. I'm not one of those people that's clairvoyant. I just wish I was. And so I find comedians that have had cooler experiences than me and get them to tell me about them on a podcast. So, comedians that grew up in haunted houses, or had a ghost in their dorm room, or stuff like that. Or actually, I just recorded one about a woman who worked in a haunted comedy club. So yeah, so it's very fun, and it allows me to stay connected to comedians and meet new comedians. And yeah, it's pretty good.
Wow. I think that's a good idea.
Oh, thank you.
Especially around Halloween, I feel like that's your time to shine, isn't it?
Yes, my listenership increased substantially at Halloween, and then afterward it took a little dip, and I'm like, no, you gotta stay up, you gotta stay high.
I feel like that's the worst part about having a podcast is that when you watch your numbers soar one week, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it, and then they come back to earth, and you're like, oh, I'm not.
No. I'm not doing it.
It's not happening. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and jump right into this? Emily, the stage is yours. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Sure. So my story is something that has been eating away at me for months. I'm a Midwestern white lady, if you couldn't tell from my voice. And my family is back in Illinois, and I've always been incredibly close with my aunt, Angie. She is only 16 years older than me, and she's always been so wonderful to me. And I got married last year, and she was such a big help for the wedding. And but the only thing that has been we haven't talked much, I would say, in the last 9 months or so. And the reason is she is a increasingly big Trump supporter. We're having this conversation post-election, but, she's a big Trump fan, and I couldn't be farther away from that. So it's I think, driven made a rift in our relationship, and it's really bummed me out. And so one day I called her. I had gone to the bar with my husband, to the bar around the corner, and we sat outside and had a couple cocktails, and I felt great, and we came home, and then I called my aunt, and I was like, I'm going to have a wonderful conversation. I'm in a great mood. We're not going to let this thing that's between us ruin our relationship. But that conversation went really, really bad, and I just kept drinking. Yeah, I just kept drinking way more tequila to deal with what was happening on that call. Oh no, my computer's being loud. I'm so sorry.
Question for you. So when you say this conversation went bad, was there something specific about the conversation that you found very triggering?
Yeah, well, so I called her trying to sort of avoid political conversation because I just know that we're not going to agree. And she just kept bringing it up. And I would say, how's my cousin? And she'd be like, oh, excited to vote for Trump. Oh, so everything she found a way to pull back to politics. And then she was telling me stories. Basically, she just kept saying that I thought she was racist and that she's not racist. And I kept telling her, like, no, I'm racist. I don't know about you. I'm not saying anything about you. I know that I have stuff to work on. I'm not talking about you or whatever, but I know that I'm racist, which seemed to really surprise her. But I think that we all need to, especially white people, really need to admit that listen, I'm in my 30s. Like, I've grown up, like, in a very different society than the one right now. And I'm not using that necessarily as an excuse, but I'm saying, like, I have a lot of change that I need to go through and a lot to learn. And I think especially this last year has been very eye-opening in so many ways. Like, there's just like, I need to change, and it doesn't, and part of that is admitting that I've held, oh my gosh, sorry, my computer, I need to like close down my internet and everything, that I've held problematic views. And I don't want to put that on anyone else, but I know that I have. So anyway.
May I ask, what some of those views are? You don't have to, but I was just curious. Oh,
sure. I think it's more ingrained in sort of just this, a more sort of sinister, ingrained racism. For example, I never until like the last couple of years have I considered that my social circle was so incredibly white. Like, it never even crossed my mind that I was living in this very like white bubble. I'm like, I've been living in New York since 2007. It's an incredibly wonderful and diverse place. Why am I hanging out with the same 10 white people all of the time? Like, why am I not branching out? Like, what, is it okay I just kind of feel like part of this was my decision to, have very few friends of color, people of color in my social circle, for example. And I also realized, like, because I'm a writer and I mostly make my living off freelance comedy writing. And I've thought a lot about it in the last year about who I'm recommending for jobs, especially. Like, I've always looked out for other women for sure, because I am a woman and I've been discriminated against in workplace situations. And I only recently started making sure that when somebody asks me for a recommendation, I'm giving them a diverse group of people and not just 5 white ladies, Right. So, I mean, I think that that's all super important stuff, and I'm not good at it. I haven't fixed, I'm no angel, and I'm sure there's so much stuff that I need to work on and learn, but like, this is all pretty new to me. And yeah. No,
absolutely. Thank you for being, willing to open up and share that with us. But so what happened next with your aunt at the
So we couldn't really get off the topic of politics, and I was getting progressively drunker. And then I came inside. I was out in the backyard. I came inside, and my husband got on the phone with us, like on speakerphone, which was helpful because he's a super friendly comedian who everybody loves. And we kind of diffused the situation, and we left it saying, we're all on our own journeys. Okay, good night. But I was left with a bad taste in my mouth off that conversation based on some stuff that she said that I found extremely troubling. And I don't really want to get into the details of exactly what she said, because I feel like that's not really mine to tell. Sure. But just some stuff that I thought was pretty icky and frankly racist. So fast forward to like a couple weeks later, this aunt, she started, this becomes like a technology story. It's both like a Trump ruined my family and a technology story. Okay. Which I feel like are both incredibly timely right now. Sure. But so she started a group text with all the women in my family except my mom. And the text, which included my sister, and the text was every day they would send memes. She and her kids would send memes that were really, really ultra positive. And she was like, okay, we're doing this every day. I'm sending happy memes. And they were like rainbows and butterflies and like sort of like, you make yourself happy, you create your own reality, like everything's going to be great, everything's going to be wonderful. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. One, because I think getting text messages every morning is really, really annoying. Like, I don't care who they are or what they're from. Like,
right.
You can't block a group text, right? So like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I'm just getting these annoying texts. So this goes on for several weeks. And then I okay, this is maybe not my shining moment.
Right.
But
right.
I am so frustrated one day with these stupid things. And first of all, I am not like the type of person who loves platitudes like that. I don't love like target art, which is just like, be the best you can be. I really hate all that stuff. I just like, I love to find hope in wallowing more and like admitting when you feel horrible and when you feel helpless. And I think that like that is a way better way to grow and bond rather than just like indulging in these stupid, like, I don't know, pixelated memes. Anyway, so I tweet one day, several weeks later, I tweet something like, about to lose it on my Trumper family, like about to tear the family apart. Because I was just so furious and I was looking for other people sort of in my situation, I guess. I don't know the reason I tweet when I tweet.
I mean, sometimes I feel like we need a support group, and I think that that's very normal.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Because my sister was like, you shouldn't have done that. And maybe I shouldn't.
But I get it. What I'm trying to say is I think it is a very natural response.
Thank you. Well, it does get worse.
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have replied.
Then my aunt, my other aunt calls my mom. I'm in my 30s. Okay. She calls my mom to tell on me that I'm tweeting about our other Trumper family. And then my mom calls me and I'm in the middle of a work day. My mom's in the middle of a work day. My mom's all frustrated and mad at me. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of a work day. I don't think I tweeted anything bad or wrong. Just leave me alone. And my mom was like, yeah, if you're in your 30s, if somebody has a problem with you, they can call you. And I'm like, yes, okay. So then I hang up with my mom, but I'm just furious now that like my one aunt's calling my mom and my other aunt loves Trump and is sending me these freaking memes every day. So I go and I'm looking on my phone for a way to block the group. Like, I just need to block this group, but I don't want to leave the conversation, the text conversation, because then she would see like, oh, Emily has left the conversation and that is very rude. So I don't want to start drama. So I'm like, maybe if I name the group text, I will be able to block it the way you can block like a single person. So, and I had already muted it, but muting does not help me. They're still there. I'm still seeing it all the time.
Right.
Anyway, so I named the group, and I named the group Hypocritical Bullshit because I did not know. I did not know that they would be able to see it. I thought I was just naming it for me, Right. So then my sister texts me and she's like, there's something called famnesia. I'm sure everyone will forget about it. And I was like, wait, what? Everyone can see this? And I start like sweating and panicking. Right. And then it's just that horrible smelly sweat you get when you're like, oh no, I've just ruined my life, And then I just quickly changed the group name to FAM.
JK.
To try to save it.
Yeah.
And then my youngest cousin, who's 19, was like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, oh no. So we FaceTimed and she was like, my mom is really, 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 really upset. So basically, and I was like, listen, yep, I get it. She did not want her memes to be called hypocritical BS, So I texted her and I apologized, and I said I was sorry for hurting her feelings, and which I was and am, and that I understand that I hurt her feelings, and I didn't think she would see that, and I'm sorry for doing that. Right. And she just responded with endless screeds of anger at me. And we still haven't spoken, and she's told my mom that she's prepared not to talk to either of us for 20 years. So I've always had a really close-knit family, and I feel like my story, I hope it's not too boring,
No.
but during all of this, pandemic and election stuff, I've found a way from New York to drive a huge wedge into my family that may never be repaired.
So first and foremost, I want to say thank you for sharing this story with us. I think that this is one of the most relatable stories of 2020, in that I don't think that you're the only person whose family has been divided by political ideology. So thank you. I think that that's very important that we have these conversations and we share them.
Oh, thanks. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm like, it's kind of a long story, and I hope it's not too boring, but I hope it's relatable to some people.
No, absolutely. So there's that. The second thing I was going to say here is I just want you to know this is like a judgment-free zone, so don't worry about anything. And I do find that that while I haven't necessarily have had these divides with my family, like my actual blood family, there are people who are like friends who I thought I was very close with, who I have reconsidered our relationships, not necessarily because of their political ideology, but because of some of the things that they've said, which is driven because of the groupthink that comes from political ideology. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I do find that I'm very respectful of other people's opinions, and I acknowledge that I do not have all the right answers, and that I also acknowledge that there are a lot of things that I'm very wrong about, and just don't know that I'm wrong about them yet. So I'm not going to come out and say someone else is wrong. However, I do recognize when things come from a place of hate and anger, and that is something that I can't necessarily vibe with. So I've really resonated with your story as a whole.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I can't believe I did that. I feel so foolish and old, I'm like, I can't believe I made a technology error that put a rift in the family. I just feel like, oh my gosh, my 23-year-old self was looking at me being like, Emily, that is so embarrassing.
No, your 23-year-old you was looking at you and was like, okay, boomer.
Yeah, no, totally.
So okay. So let's dial this back a little. Let's tear into this a little bit, if you will. So has this only affected the relationship with your aunt, or has it also affected your relationship with your cousins as well?
That whole family. So my uncle, my cousins, my aunt, they're all off limits now. And my mom basically sided with me. And so my aunt won't speak to her, and that whole family won't speak to her either.
I mean, yeah, but what else was your mother supposed to do? Was she supposed to turn your back on you?
I mean, yeah, she could have. It's her sister versus her daughter. It's but my mom agreed with me, frankly, and she also, and my aunt didn't put her on this meme text because my aunt knew that my mom wouldn't like it. And I don't think apart from the Trump anything and any political anything, I do think it is a little bit bad etiquette to text somebody every day. Unless you have that kind of relationship where you want to be texting with them every day, I don't want memes in my texts at all. That is for Facebook. That is not, I just don't think that it's, yeah. So my mom was I would have been so annoyed by that. And then you add in the fact that it's happy, bubbly memes from somebody that has really problematic beliefs, in my opinion. And it just doubles down. Yeah.
No, I get that. So earlier you mentioned, you said that you were racist, but what did you mean that you've gotten to a point in your life where you can recognize your own prejudice, and it's not feelings of necessarily hate towards a different race, but more recognizing that, you might have had certain biases that you weren't aware of? Is that what you meant?
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to I'm trying to recognize prejudices where I didn't before. And I'm sure the thing is, the reason I say that, like, I am racist is because I am in that process. And I am sure that there are prejudices that I have not even considered yet.
Sure. Okay, no, let me ask, because you're a comedian. So when you're doing stand-up, do you diversify the kinds of rooms where you tell jokes?
Well, interestingly, I used to have, so my first TV writing job was in Miami. So I had to move to Miami for 9 months. And that was an incredibly eye-opening experience because the rooms, there were very, very few white people. And it was the first time that I had really consistently felt that I was in the minority in rooms. And there had been a joke that I had put away because I thought maybe it was inappropriate and I shouldn't be the one telling it. And it was about why white people can't say the N-word, which I feel now like I should not be telling that joke. But this is 5+ years ago. So in Miami, I brought that joke out and I was like, you know what? I'm in more diverse rooms. Let me try this joke. And it went over way better there than in any room that I had ever done it before.
Right.
Or actually in mostly white rooms. The times that I had done more diverse rooms in New York, it had gone over better. So that was like sort of interesting. Like, I think white people didn't want to laugh at that joke because maybe they recognized that little white girl should not be telling it. Maybe more diverse audiences felt comfortable laughing at that joke because I don't know, because they found it funny, but I still do think that I shouldn't be telling it. Now I have come full circle and I'm like, no, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a well-crafted joke that took 6 months to write, it's still not your joke to tell. So I change on stuff like that.
Got it. Okay. That's pretty cool. So, why don't we jump right back into this and go ahead. I'm going to give you an opportunity to retell the same exact story, but this time you can change any facts or details. The only thing I ask is please don't change the specific incident because then there's no story.
Oh, okay. So how do I shoot?
So like, because, it's easy to say, I wish I hadn't done that, or, I wish we didn't get into an argument, but then, there's no story. So maybe let's change other things and play around with it and see what comes of it. Sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, the worst thing that I did, the thing that really caused the problem was naming this group Hypocritical BS, right? And if I, like, I'm trying to think, because that was the bad thing that caused this, like, tumbling of feelings to come out. And I think had it been about something that wasn't so personal to my aunt, she probably would not have reacted so strongly. But I truly don't know. It's so hard because what can you do once somebody has decided that you are out of the family? I mean, I guess I could have continued to text her and, really reiterate how sorry I am. And that is, that's probably the only thing that I could have done, or FaceTimed her and done that. Those are her preferred methods of communication. So I suppose maybe I could have repaired it by just letting her know that I am genuine in my apology.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that if the political, strain had not been there, do you think it would have escalated to the level that it did?
No, because I would have been annoyed at the memes. And I did have this alternative reality. I've played this one out in my head a lot, where once I got annoyed at the memes, I should have if I texted the group and said, hey, I love all you guys, but I've been really busy with a bunch of work projects. And so I'm going to dip out of this because every time my phone goes off, I get like work PTSD or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I'm too in it with I've got tons of different bosses texting me at all times. And I'm too stressed out right now and see you guys later. And I love you. So like that could have maybe saved it.
Right.
But no, I think not. I mean, I would have been annoyed by these stupid things. I hate them with or without the political context, but the political context is what I meant when I said hypocritical BS. And because how can somebody have such just horrible beliefs and then be like sending rainbows and butterflies and saying everything's okay? It just really struck me in a really icky place. So it wouldn't have escalated. And I knew that she knew right away that that's what I was referring to, you know?
Right. And now also I understand, like, again, I get it why you were looking for a community, but I guess outside of the community, what else did you hope to gain from the Twitter? Like, weren't you afraid that they would in fact see it and have an adverse reaction?
I didn't know that any of them were on Twitter at the time, and apparently one of my cousins does have an account, but like they're not really like. Yeah, I had never encountered them on Twitter before. They seem to be more Instagram and TikTok focused. So, I wasn't naming them by name. I wasn't trying to take them down or like get them in trouble. I felt so powerless, like to these stupid, I think it just like, I don't know why this annoys me or if this is normal or if I'm being, whatever. I just felt so powerless to these memes coming in my phone every day and I couldn't get rid of them. And I couldn't at the time think of a delicate way of getting them to be away from me without hurting people's feelings. And because of that feeling of powerlessness to like, I don't want this media coming at me, like leave me alone. Like if it was a troll on the internet, I would just block them, but this is my own family and I hate this. So like, and it's in the beginning, I was like, okay, well, like everything, this will be done in a week and a half and I'll just bear it out, and deal with it. But it was going on for weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. She's going to send these every day. And I just like, I looked into my future and I just couldn't handle it. It was just too much. So what was the question?
The question is, was there any concern of them seeing this on Twitter?
So I just took it out. I mean, I know they're also big on Facebook. So I did put it on the one place where I guess I was looking for people to be like, been through this, or like, have you tried this? Or like, I don't know, like, I just wanted my people to like be there for me. And them to not see it because I wasn't trying to hurt their feelings. Right. And I wasn't trying to call them out. But yeah, that's why, I mean, so I think, if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have snowballed into what it is. But I also think like, I guess my sister is like, you should have just texted me. And I'm like, well, I didn't want to. I didn't want to talk to you necessarily. I wanted, yeah.
See, because that was going to be my next question. Like, wouldn't you have taken a bit of a, I don't know, like, wouldn't it have been cathartic if, like, you guys could have complained about it together, you and your sister?
We had already.
Oh, I see.
We had already. And the other thing is that I think another thing which is a little bit more selfish, which I'm realizing now, which I hadn't thought about before, is that I've made it over the last year plus, I've made it a goal of mine to tweet every day. And so I just to engage with more people, to grow my social numbers, to, have a presence, a social media presence that at least can be like somewhat taken seriously. Unfortunately, it's not what I prefer to do with my time. But I understand that it is very helpful to our careers. So I have been experimenting with living my life online a little bit more than I am that I would normally do if I was not a comedian. And I wasn't trying to, I was being silly. I was like, watch me ruin the family. But then actually I did. So I think part of it is now when I wake up, I do have this like instinct of like, you got to get a tweet off by noon and like, you got to hit your numbers. And I'm obsessed with numbers and I'm obsessed with counting and making sure that I get X, Y, and Z done every day. And so it was just what was going through my head. I thought I would find a community, but also I'm sure that there was a part of me that was like, well, I have to tweet about something and I can't think about anything else, you know?
Right. No, look, hey, that makes perfect sense. So now, okay, how much time has passed since all of this has happened?
Let's see. Looking at a calendar right now. I believe it has been about 2.5 months since I named the group chat Hypocritical BS.
Okay. So 2.5, and then, so I'm assuming that means it's been about 2 months since she vowed to be prepared to not speak to you for 20 years?
Yeah, well, so she sent me a million kind of mean and sort of insanely worded texts that day until I told her to just leave me alone. And then my mom talked to her in the beginning of, like about a month and a half ago. And that's where she said the 20-year thing.
Okay. Do you see a future where maybe you try to patch things up?
I would like to. I mean, I'm so conflicted because on the one hand, this has been a person who's been so good to me and who I've loved my entire life. And she brought me to my first bar when I was 5 and gave me a fake ID. And I have all these wonderful memories of her. But on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, I just grapple with this all the time. Do we have do human beings have a moral responsibility to confront people whose beliefs are harmful to others?
Right.
So I don't have an answer.
Right.
I don't know. I want to patch things up because it's so hard. I love her very much and I love her whole family.
Sure.
But I also I'm so deeply troubled by some of the political beliefs associated with her group of people that I'm just really confused about what patching that up looks like and whether I need to just put away these feelings or if that is sort of a betrayal to humanity to do that, Not like I'm going to save the world either way, but it's just like, it's just like, right. I don't know. You ever look at a chicken nugget and think, I can eat you and it wouldn't make a difference? Or like, I shouldn't eat you and then maybe everyone wouldn't eat chicken nuggets.
No, I get it. Trust me. No,
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to, but I also like, it's just going to keep happening,
So let me ask you this, really quickly, if you wouldn't mind. Could you walk me through how you think this issue evolved from her point of view? So like, could you put yourself in her shoes for a second and tell me, what she thinks happened?
This is such a beautiful exercise. I get why people go to therapy, and I should connect with my old therapist.
Right. I'm going to say this again because I've had to say this on this podcast a few times. I am in no way, shape, or form a therapist. I have no knowledge of that. As a matter of fact, I've never even been to therapy, so I don't know how it works.
Well, this sounds like something a therapist would have you do. I think I know from her perspective, from my other aunt, that she feels she's the only one of her sisters that didn't go to college, and her kids didn't either. One of them is in community college, but the other two didn't. And I think, and her husband didn't. And I think that I'm somewhere in the middle. My parents have advanced degrees, and so does my other aunt. And I just did regular old state college. But I think she feels a little like nobody takes her opinion seriously, and they think that we think that she's stupid. So I think that she's already had fights with my mom about this. So in the past, so I think when I did what I did, and I have always been like an ally to her, like we've never had it out before. And I think I'm kind of like the party animal in this family of very smart, well-educated people, and then there's me. So I think we're like, we'll, take down 10 margaritas together and have a blast and whatever. And I think she probably felt like extremely betrayed when it wasn't just my mom that was feeling this way, but clearly me too. So I think she just probably felt like betrayed and like that we were making a joke of her.
Okay. So, do you, is that your opinion of her, or do you respect her intellectual opinions?
That's a very good question. On one level, I respect her. I think she's a hard worker, and I don't know. I mean, I think she's funny, and I think you need some, you have to be kind of smart to be funny. It's not
right.
But I do, this is the thing. This is so snotty of me. The text message she sent me where all the words were misused, everything was misspelled. It looked like a third grader wrote it. And that made me be like, you are just giving me, you think that I think you're dumb, and then you're writing text messages that are all misspelled, and you're using the wrong phrase, the wrong words everywhere. You're basically playing into this. And so it makes me it's super hard for me to see it clearly. But no, I mean, I think the same way, I don't know, my parents are lawyers and they're smart, and I don't know anything about what they know about. And I think that people are intelligent in different ways. I think that there's tons of ways that she is more intelligent than me or my mom. But I mean, if we're talking purely academic and spelling and articulating yourself, that's not her strong suit.
No, that's fair. I'm going to say thank you again for coming on the podcast and sharing your story with us. I appreciate, I know that especially speaking about your family in such an open and candid way can be very difficult. So I appreciate that you were willing to do that with us.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's hard, but I feel like I couldn't talk about anything else because this is the one thing that I've been thinking about truly every single day nonstop since it happened. So I had to talk to you about it.
No, of course. We have a few traditions on this podcast before I let you go. So the first is we have a tradition here where we like to ask our guests for a quick childhood story that brings happiness or puts a smile on their face. You know what I mean? Something that just makes you feel warm and good inside whenever you think of it. Do you have something you can share with us?
This is a very strange story.
No, go ahead.
But it's the first thing that came to my mind, and I think it's because I just took my sock off. But basically, I have this weird thing where when I panic, or when something really bad happens, I cannot stop laughing. And when I was a kid, I was probably 12 or something. I went on vacation with my parents to Florida, and I'm incredibly klutzy. And I smacked my toe against in flip-flops. I was running, and I smacked my toe against a hard brick pavement or something on a pavement, and I just ate it. And I ate it, and my toenail came off, and my whole foot was big and black and blue, and it ruined my vacation, but I could not stop laughing for 2 hours. And I have never laughed that much in my entire life, and it just because it hurt so bad. And sometimes when I'm laughing so much that my stomach hurts, I think about my toe.
Well, I mean, I guess if that's what puts a smile on your face, then perfect. All right. And then the last tradition we have on this podcast is we like to highlight a charity or an organization. Usually we like to let our guests pick something that they're passionate about. Do you have one for us?
Yes, I love animals, and I would like to highlight the World Wildlife Fund, and especially because, and this is the most consumerist, crappy thing to say, but they have such cool, if you're passionate about animals, they have such cool shirts and other accessories that you get when you donate. I don't know if this would probably appeal to people who like NPR tote bags and stuff, but I got the coolest shirt when I made my last donation, and it's got a leopard on it. Or no, is it a tiger? I can't remember, but it's an awesome shirt. Yeah, so I feel like I love elephants very much. I just feel like I'm an elephant in a human's body. And I'm trying to go fully vegetarian. And, yeah, it means a lot to me, those guys. There's not, this place, did you watch I Am Greta? There's not much Earth left on Earth. We gotta save it.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I was going to tell you that it's on my list, but I realized I probably shouldn't lie to someone. So boldly.
Fair.
No, wow. Thank you very much for coming on the Revisionary podcast. I'm sure our Revisionaries love to hear from you. Do you have any last words for us?
Oh, I don't know. Please don't hate me for all I said. You guys are going to be nice. Okay.
No, we look, I can tell you this, based on how much my audience tolerates me, I can tell you they're probably all very nice people. Where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter where I make mistakes at Emily MC Winter. It's Emily McWinter, and that is also my Instagram handle.
Emily McWinter. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Revisionary podcast.
Thank you. This was great.
The Revisionary Podcast.
I really think that the reason why I enjoyed that conversation is because I feel like that's super relatable in that I know she wasn't the only one for whom this conversation was very divisive. And I know that some people have lost friends and family due to politics. And I'm glad that she was willing to come on air and have that conversation and explain to us how it has affected her directly. So, thank you so much, Emily, for joining me on the Revisionary podcast. And thank you to the Revisionaries. Each week in and week out, I appreciate you guys, and that's why I do this continuously. And as I like to say always, thank you for listening.
This is the